Response video to Fred, sort of. Anyway, he did a video on, you know, sentience, pain, and this idea that for humans anyway, that there's equations that make sense in terms of suffering for your art, or I don't know, some of this other stuff. And I think most of the examples are kind of silly. You even brought up Fight Club. I mean, what? I mean, you know, stupidity is nothing to celebrate. I'm sorry. Um, and consensual violence. Okay, what does that mean? So anyway, that's the word I keyed on, was the word informed consent. So that's a tricky one, isn't it? Yeah, we have some kind of standard for expedience. You know, in society we say, okay, you're 18 years old, you can do some stuff like kill people in a war, and when you're 20 whatever, you can drink this, and you know, but we don't have any, we're not very draconian in that definition. We let people breed at almost any age, and that's kind of bullshit, isn't it? So where's the informed? Obviously, I would argue that the stupid social standard is just that, a stupid social standard, completely contrived, merely out of convenience, necessity, even practicality, because we can't give people a test, or we don't have the balls to give people a test. And Anti-Bullshit Man brought this up, and we sort of had a fight about it. Because he sort of suggested that there should be an IQ test of sorts, for the right to vote. Like you should be informed to have the right to vote. And yeah, I mean, there's a certain validity to that. Um, and there's certainly a certain validity to the idea that certain events that you do, I mean, I would argue that voting is, you know, we really have to give that everybody one man, one vote kind of thing, and you can't really break that principle. But these other things, you really have to argue that, you know, um, you should be required to be qualified before you um, step into this stuff. And yeah, and there's social cost to this stuff too. Some asshole decides to climb a mountain, gets himself stuck, and then we have to spend millions of dollars to go dig his body out of the snow. What the fuck is that crap? Um, you know, it's sort of bullshit. I mean, maybe they should spend money. Maybe they should pay for that. We let people own a gun. You know, they sign a piece of paper. What's my name again? And you know, we give them a gun in a couple of weeks. What the hell's that bullshit? And then they go out and shoot their wife and kill their kids and do all kinds of other mayhem with their little gun. And but nobody wants to take responsibility for that. I mean, the gun owners don't want the responsibility. I guess I'm talking about informed responsibility in a way. But anyway, so I should stick to this subject, which is informed consent. I like that term. I mean, it's just, you could go on forever and ever, because what does it take to be a responsible human being? What do you have to know? And I guess I would argue it's not how much you know, alright? I mean, knowing the capital of Vienna or something. Well, that is the capital. Knowing the capital of whatever, Bangladesh. Um, who cares? Um, you know, but knowing that, you know, it's not a good idea to drink and drive because, you know, there's this idea that you're going to cause harm, or knowing the real risk, or appreciating the risk of certain behavior, um, maybe knowing exactly what the odds are of, you know, your baby being born with these 7 million liabilities. You know, every time you have a kid, you enter it in a whole bunch of lotteries. You enter it in the you'll get cancer when you're 6 years old lottery. You enter it in the you get hit by a bus lottery. You enter a whole bunch of genetic lotteries of failure. You know, elephant man disease and all kinds of disasters are out there. And yeah, so there's no informed consent there, obviously. So yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying in principle. You know, that if assholes want to be assholes, we should let them be assholes. But I almost say bullshit to that. And then you almost broke the utilitarian kind of concept, where you seem like you're for the utilitarian point of view, and then you say something in there about in the text you write down, don't push the fat man off the bridge. or something like that. And that goes back to the stupid thought experiment. Like, if you could kill one man to save three, would you do it? And yeah, if it's a certainty, if you know you're killing one person and you know you're going to save three, um, yeah, even if the guy don't like it, it's sort of an obligation. Um, it's only rational. It's only sensible, rational math. What, we should be irrational for the sake of what? Fluffiness? Silliness? I mean, it's kind of stupid. Certainly you can break the thought experiment by saying, well, the three people he was going to save are just all axe murderers or something. But then you could say the same thing about the fat man. Maybe he's an axe murderer, so then you have a double bonus. You killed the axe murderer and you saved three people. So let's not play that game. I mean, if it's just a guarantee, one for three, and they're all equals, yeah, it's just logical. So fuck this shit. And I guess that's, to me, what it is to be responsible. That's what it takes to be a responsible human, is to have enough knowledge and sensibility to be able to act rationally, at least to talk rationally, even if you can't act that way. Because acting sometimes is difficult. We have inhibitions, and we have a basic nature that makes us not do the right thing. We don't eat our vegetables, and we don't do a lot of fucking things that we're supposed to fucking do, or we should fucking do, in our own best interest. But let's not argue that that's good. That's a good thing. Let's celebrate that about humans, that they're stupid, irrational assholes. Yeah, the way you were talking was almost a glorification of everything that's wrong with human beings. I mean, they should really understand psychology and understand when they have some silly fucking addiction, like, I need a golden Mercedes and it has to be all sparkly and shiny. That's just fucktarded psychology, that you could talk your way out of that if you understand. If you look at the Mercedes in the showroom and you see it as 100,000 starving little kids in Africa, that money could give them a nice bag of potato chips and make them all really fucking happy. If you see it as something else, okay, you can turn that desire into a piece of shit, and you can get it out of your fucking psychology. And that's what we should be encouraging people to do. We should be encouraging people to rise above their fucking nature, and in a way you're just kind of celebrating it. Oh, I have an impulse, I have a desire, I have whatever. Well, so what? It's probably crap. And you can understand it as crap. So yeah, I just think what most people do, what most of the suffering done in the name of art or theater or whatever, you even use the example of learning as if that's suffering. No, the only real suffering that comes from learning is the fact that you have to sacrifice time to do it. And as life goes on, it gets harder and harder to find time to do that kind of shit. But who the hell wouldn't want to do that? It beats the hell out of working, fucker. you know, none of the jobs I've ever had would I'd rather do my job than read a book. No, I don't think so. But anyway, I'm not going. This isn't going exactly. I didn't mean this to be hostile, but yeah, your video just did hit me the wrong way, especially in the context of all this discussion about how all these people are trying to minimize suffering, and it just seems to me that you sort of minimized it, because really the bulk of suffering isn't taking place in the name of hitting the longest home run. And even that's a good example. Look at steroids or something. Okay, so a bunch of people pump themselves up through with this chemical to augment their capacity. Well, how many of them are failures? How many of them broke their leg because of it? How many of them are fucked because of it? And all that unnecessary suffering for this stupid ambition. And so again, and what's informed consent? I mean, if somebody isn't capable of understanding they're possessed by addiction, well, then they're not really informed, are they? Are any religious people, are they ever capable of informed consent? I mean, they already have an incredibly fucking idiotic delusion in their head that's going to impact every single perception they have. Every knee-jerk reaction of their psychology is going to be dictated by this cultist devotion to the Jesus that's going to someday make beautiful love with them, or whatever they're hoping for. Yeah, that's just how can any of those people have informed consent? They can't be informed because they're already misinformed. They're already incredibly deluded. It's deluded consent then. And I guess I'd make this argument that it happens to all of us. We all sit here and say, okay, my life is worth living because we have acclimated to it. We've acclimated to the circumstance. And my argument is we'll acclimate to anything. All right, you give me a next door neighbor that's, burning Jews or whatever in the oven, and yeah, well, if I can't do anything about it, eventually I'll acclimate to it because I won't let it destroy my life, right? So yeah, so I'll acclimate to it. And that's how we live our lives. We acclimate to this crap. But we can see it in other people. We can see people acclimating to complete and preposterous, insane suffering. And what's the point? Why? Because we keep celebrating this engine of motivation and desire and sense of unfinishedness that compels all of us to keep marching another step forward. It keeps us hungry every fucking day. That's right. We eat and then we get hungry again. And yeah, we inevitably get hungry again. But yeah, this is sort of what I wanted to get to about these basic facts of life thing, because there is a little pool of knowledge, and I don't think it's that big. It's a little pool of knowledge that creates somebody capable of informed consent. If you know these 10 basic truths of our existence, well then maybe you're capable of informed consent, because you understand there's implications, you understand they will affect the future, you understand the whole concept of memes, you understand that your psychology is completely, in many ways, arbitrary. What you love and what you hate is an arbitrary. All these things are just bullshit. And some of this bullshit doesn't have to be, and you don't have to be obedient to it, because it was created by a stupid molecule. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, just understanding psychology right there. I mean, you're way ahead if you understand where it came from and why we possess it. And you can't do that if you're lost in some God delusion. You're not going to be able to figure out what psychology is. You're going to be, that's going to go way the fuck over your head. So you're just going to blame it on the devil. Silly people. So how far do I want to take this? Yeah, this idea, like, again, I'm just going to say that we could all judge each other's decisions and see huge flaw in them when they are made, when we're balancing our desire against some realistic prospect of accomplishment or the realistic definition of failure. We don't analyze situations rationally and intelligently. We analyze them from our sensibility perspective, from what we feel and what we hope, and that kind of crap just really shouldn't be encouraged in human beings. We have to live there. We have to live as the animals we are. But we should contain ourselves in some sort of bubble of rational requirements, some sort of limitation, some string should be attached that doesn't allow us to get out of hand. We should be leashed by rational notions, not silly notions that human beings and their stupid aspirations add up to a motherfucking thing. All the silliness that's been done in the name of art. I mean, come on. Yuck. Getting back to your old discussion, I mean, to even call it that, sometimes, I mean, it's glorifying garbage. Yeah, it's all a psych game, and a psych game that comes at a huge price. So anyway, I guess the point I'm really getting to is that I'm arguing, all right, for this notion that unless you can demonstrate some rational reason why you need to perpetuate your genetic code into the future, why you need to create a new human being, and be able to explain how you're accounting for the risk and for the downside and for the fact that there is no informed consent for that new individual. He doesn't get to say yes or no. He doesn't get to say to you ahead of time or voice an opinion, you know, let you understand that maybe he doesn't appreciate you playing a game with his destiny. um, um, yeah, that you'd really have to come up with some sort of rational argument, and there isn't going to be one, but I'm just saying that should be the obligation. You shouldn't just be able to say, I want to, without explaining how you have appreciated the risk, and that somehow you have the wherewithal, the credibility to say, I'm entitled to take the risk with somebody else's welfare. So explain that one. So before you say we shouldn't push the fat man off the bridge, maybe you should explain how we have a right to have children. Yeah. Because it seems to me having a child is as much an imposition as pushing anybody anywhere. Just no doubt about it. So anyway, yeah, it's probably enough. But yeah, is there any informed consent without some sort of accurate basic knowledge base? I mean, if somebody doesn't have the basic understanding of what universe they're in, what planet they're on, if they don't have a few of these questions answered correctly, how can they possibly be informed? It can't be responsible, informed consent. It can't be useful consent if they are deluded, fucked-hearted, if their brain is full of nonsense. No. Alright, enough of video now. So, thank you very much. Blah, blah, blah. Till next time.